to another video where today we talk about, if you see this super thin phone right here, the iPhone Air,
The thinnest iPhone ever.
which they say that, or at least they used to when Johnny Ive was there. That was like their big thing, the thinnest it's ever been.
Yeah, but now it
But now it actually is the thinnest it's
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
been. And honestly, it does feel a little crazy. But before we get into anything, this is Apple's latest attempt in innovating and achieving something that's honestly an engineering, I was going to say wonder, but I don't want to give him that. But it is an accomplishment, I'll say that.
Yeah, innovating is also a little bit of a stretch, no?
I do think, I want to say innovative is part of it for sure. I do give him credit for that one. But let's talk about why.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those let's throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks kind of thing, like they've done with the Mini and the Plus. Now, the ending of the last bit was kind of a little bit of a joke.
It really was, yeah.
Because the Air is kind of sitting in its own product line right now.
It's like an adopted child.
It doesn't even have 17 in the moniker. So there's the iPhone 17, the iPhone 17 Pro line, and then there's the iPhone Air, 17 Air. So it's kind of sitting in its own little thing. I'm really curious to see if Apple is going to continue to keep this though. Like that's kind of what makes me nervous. I know there was a small little following for the Mini,
Right.
the iPhone Mini. And I don't really think the Plus did well, like when they did the 16 Plus.
I think there was a group of people for sure that was targeted towards, but I don't think it's big enough for Apple to produce a phone and make revenue.
Yeah.
But Aryan's right. I think when it comes to this specific product, it's one of those things that we can speculate and wonder what Apple's reasoning was to create a separate product outside of the normal iPhone lineup that we get every year. But personally, I like seeing attempts. I'm not saying it was successful. I'm not saying it's amazing, but I like companies trying.
Yeah, it's impressive.
You gotta give that to
Yeah, and it is an impressive phone. There are, and I think that's kind of how we're going to structure this review. There are some things that you should definitely be well aware of though if you are considering buying the iPhone Air and using it as your daily iPhone, because the build aside, it's also much unlike any iPhone that's come out in recent memory.
Right. Now, of course, the biggest selling point, the flashy thing that Apple did with this phone is to market it as the thinnest iPhone ever, which it is true. It's actually slightly thinner than the iPhone 6 that also bent when you put it on your back pocket. But thankfully, this one has a lot of new materials. It actually is, in my opinion, a great engineering accomplishment. I think they were able to do a lot of cool things to get here. Maybe not the best things, but a lot of cool things to get here. And that's including having a titanium frame on this phone, which
Wild that one got titanium.
wild that this one got titanium and not the Pro. But besides the point, you do have a matte glass on the back, which is really nice frosted color. This light blue reminds me of the sky blue of the iPhone 13.
It's literally called sky blue, isn't it?
I don't know if it's the same shade though.
No, but I'm saying I think this color is actually called
But
sky blue.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you have this glossy visor camera glass that you have at the top. And honestly, the way that this was able to be accomplished and the reason it's so thin, it's because they moved a lot of the hardware and internal components to the top of the phone, where basically the whole body of the phone, it's nothing but the battery. At least the majority of it is, where you have even the logic board at the visor. And because of that, they're able to achieve such a small frame on a honestly very durable phone.
Yeah, and I think we could tell you the dimensions. Like I can tell you it's 5.6 millimeters thin, and I can tell you it's 165 grams.
The feeling though.
But it doesn't, that's not going to translate through the camera.
Right.
If you have an opportunity to go to a Best Buy or an Apple store somewhere and just hold one of these, it's insane.
It's really cool.
It's insane. And I haven't thought that it was this cool to hold a smartphone, I think, since the S25 Edge.
It's probably like your one compliment for this phone.
Well, I mean, it
Anyway, so now
just wouldn't be my go-to at that price point, man.
it is really cool what they did. But like I said earlier, they did have to make some changes. They made some decisions to get here. And that comes with sacrifices.
Yeah. Starting off with
here we go.
Starting off with the battery. I don't think Apple has ever actually disclosed the battery size. 3,000.
No, yeah.
I'll do it. 3,149 milliamp hours. Okay. We had to go back a little bit to compare it to previous iPhones, and it
Right.
has a slightly smaller battery than the iPhone 13.
Right.
So like when we were watching the keynote, was super, super impressed by that. And then I found it really suspect that Apple decided to follow it up by introducing a MagSafe battery pack specifically for the iPhone Air.
I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to do that.
Yeah, it was kind of like they were admitting to their own guilt right on their keynote.
Yeah, it was
that
crazy.
they're like, and
Yeah.
guess what? We brought out this fantastic accessory because we don't think that the battery is going to be super hot on this
And
phone.
by the way, you can do this in payments for the rest of your life. So like, it's just one of those marketing decisions that I don't know why they did.
Yeah,
that. But
no, and I think, and like from what I've seen online, battery use for this phone has been pretty mixed. Like,
right.
the first thing I did, because one of the biggest things that I'll use a smartphone for is media consumption.
Yeah.
Right? So the biggest thing that I did just to test it was how long it would last, just like watching YouTube videos.
Right.
I got to like 2 hours and 45 minutes, or like close to 3 hours of watching time, and the phone was sitting at like 50 or like 49%.
Right.
So if you're just doing video playback, I mean, for me, my use case was probably close to like 5 to 6 hours of screen on time.
Right.
Which isn't bad, but it's also not 17 or 17 Pro levels.
And I think that's why it's getting such a bad rep, just because it's not a bad battery size. And if anything, with iPhone and their optimization with the software, you get decent numbers. They're not great, and they're honestly not competitive, but they're good enough to, make a usable phone. It's honestly someone that needs to have a phone 24/7 that would get a battery pack. Because if you go to your phone every now and then, this battery life, it's going to be okay. You're going to get plenty of chances to charge it in between to make sure that you have a phone that's alive.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like if you are watching the battery throughout the day, or like if there are periods of time where maybe you're only making phone calls and sending texts, right, you can definitely make the phone get to a day's worth of use. It's probably the type of smartphone that you're topping off almost every night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then for me in particular, the iPhone Air has a cool factor that no other iPhone has right now, right? Once you get to a point where if you buy a case for it or if you buy a battery pack for it, you're kind of taking away from how cool that factor is.
Yep.
And that's a little bit of a bummer in my opinion.
It
right?
really is. I
like
agree.
if I were to buy that phone, because I'm usually on my phone quite a bit, if I were to buy that phone, the first accessory I'd probably buy is that battery pack. And that immediately takes away from how thin and light it feels, because it's just something that's attached to it all the
It
time.
defeats the purpose. It really does.
Some good news on the performance front though. The iPhone Air is rocking the A19 Pro chip.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, so from a performance perspective, it's really good. So,
Yeah.
and this is a unique version of the A19 Pro.
It is slightly different. Yeah.
Right. So the 17 has the A19. This has an A19 Pro that has one less GPU core compared to the 17 Pros.
Right.
But I will say, day-to-day stuff, calls, texts, emails, listening to music, just browsing through your stuff, regular things that I would say probably 90 to 95%
Right.
of people who buy these phones that are just doing on a daily basis, absolutely fine. Like the phone totally flies through all those with no issues. One thing to note though is that with this type of form factor, ultra thin, sometimes cooling can become a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, that is true.
And I'm not talking about like the vapor chamber that's on the 17 Pro. I'm just talking with this type of form factor, when you throw in a super powerful chip like the A19 Pro, when you start to put the Air through its paces, like for whatever reason earlier, David was playing Fortnite.
It's for the testing purposes.
Right. People still play Fortnite? That's
I
actually
actually don't know.
That's actually
but it's in there.
that's actually
Back
crazy.
to the App Store.
But he was playing Fortnite on it earlier,
Yeah.
and whenever you start doing stuff like that, 3D gaming, graphics intensive tasks and stuff, you'll start to notice that where the logic board is located, David mentioned earlier at the top of the camera bar, it's going to start to get warm. And that's this phone's thermal cooling solution.
And
Is that it makes the chip warm, it throttles it down, right? The chip gets warm as a result of you using it. I misspoke. It throttles the performance as a result, and you'll start to notice that on some of the heavier stuff. It reminds me of the fanless MacBook Airs. Once you start putting those computers through their paces, computer gets hot, throttles the performance of the chip until temperature gets to a normal
now,
range.
just to clarify, this does not happen often.
Yeah.
I think for you to get to the point that you're gonna feel the phone getting super warm or feeling a little slow and buggy and slow and glitchy, It's one of those things that it's you putting the phone to the limit.
Yep.
You can do that with any smartphone. You can put the smartphone to a limit to find the limit. And in this case, it's the same thing with the iPhone Air.
Yeah.
Because the A19, it is a really good phone. The A19 Pro is a really good chip. And if anything, with the optimization of the software in iOS 26, it is gonna be fine. If you do any kind of normal task that any other human in the majority of the population does, this phone is gonna do everything done perfectly fine.
Yep.
If you, for some reason, are one of those less than 1% that you have something that needs even more power, let me know, because I'm curious. Because it should not happen often.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that it's the most amazing chip ever or has the best thermal system to keep it cold, but it's most likely gonna be okay.
And I think for that 90% use case scenario, it's a real testament to Apple's optimization of iOS 26. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Not the best software out there. I have my personal opinions.
Yeah.
But it is very well optimized.
Yeah. And in case you're wondering, you also do get all of the, do we even call them cool features like with Apple Intelligence and stuff?
One day there will be.
Yeah. Yeah. So you get all the stuff that also comes on the ultra powerful phones from a software perspective as well. But you know what's not ultra powerful on it?
The camera. Which, if I'm being honest with you, this one hurt a little bit. I
feel like we haven't seen underneath the phone, but I feel like they could have squeezed in an ultra wide.
maybe.
I
don't know if they maybe it
on
would
the
have been
iPhone Air too.
and it could have been maybe a downgrade, like a camera lens from like 3 years ago that was smaller, and maybe they didn't want to do that because
iPhone 18
of
Air 2?
dude, it's like a hybrid
The iPhone
monster.
2 Air
It would have
18.
been like a hybrid monster.
No, I'm saying maybe on the next generation of this, whatever that would be called, the iPhone 2 Air 18.
Or the iPhone Fold. Point being, the camera system is here with only one wide-angle lens. Fusion 48 megapixel lens to be specific.
The same one found on the iPhone 17.
Right, and it's
Yes.
one of those things that it wasn't, they didn't even borrow the 17 Pro camera. It was just the basic iPhone 17, which is also not a bad lens, but it's not the Pro. So it kind of makes you feel like you're feeling left out when you're already feeling left out with only having one lens.
Yeah, it's not that it's
So-
not a bad lens, it's just not a versatile camera system.
It does 1 times and 2 times. And that's it. Here's a really cool
That's
thing
so
though,
funny to me.
because if you flip it, it does have the center stage selfie
Yep,
camera.
that's cool.
From the iPhone 17 Pro, which that was one of my favorite features
Yes.
with the 17 Pro, even if I'm not the one to take selfies. But
Very cool if you care about your selfie game.
that is here. Here's my thing though, and
No
this
ultra
is
wide.
no ultra wide, and I think that's what was freaking pisses me off with Apple, because I think with this phone specifically, the decision to only have one camera lens is very risky because of the fact that now I don't think they have a specific market that they're targeting to buy this phone. We're looking at a phone that sits between the 17 and the 17 Pro that allows you to do some things that the 17 Pro does, like the selfie camera, that also the 17 has, like
The wide angle lens? Yeah.
yeah. So it's one of those things that you're kind of sitting in this middle ground of who do I target this to? Who do I sell this to? Who's going to buy this?
I get what you're saying. It's like it's got some elements from both, but it's better than neither.
But I think the problem is
Yeah.
that the fact that they chose to only have one camera lens killed a huge potential of maybe people in the younger generation buying this phone.
The
because
infamous 0.5. The
Yes.
infamous 0.5 photos.
Because a phone that's cool looking, that's cool feeling, that also does 0.5 would have been a huge selling point for Christmas presents this year. But I can already see a 14-year-old opening this phone and being like, where's the ultra wide angle lens? And then throwing a fit because he just got a $1,000 phone and it wasn't the one that he wanted. So point being, it was a really interesting decision of why Apple did this. I don't think I can back it up. Even though it's a solid camera system, it's as basic as it can get with the back camera.
And it takes really good photos. It's a wide angle lens, Apple's image processing.
Low light is amazing.
Yeah, like it takes really good photos. It's just this is your classic. This to me is the equivalent of someone taking pictures on an iPad.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's a point and shoot with no versatile options of doing more than just the wide angle.
Which again, I feel like could appeal to a lot of customers, but you do make a great point about not having an ultra wide for sure.
So it'll be interesting to see how this does in the market, if it's going to be sold a lot or maybe it's going to be returned a lot like the Apple Vision Pro. But it is here and it's decent. It just doesn't do a lot.
This should be one of the biggest areas of consideration for you if you're thinking about buying an iPhone Air, and cameras mean a bunch to you.
It's what made me not want to keep this as my permanent phone.
So that just about does it, I think, for the iPhone Air, right?
It does it.
What else? What else? Did we miss anything else? The mono speaker?
The mono speaker.
Yeah, the mono speaker. So here's the thing. When you have a super cool looking phone like this, ultra thin, it's so cool it doesn't even feel real whenever you hold it.
I agree.
There's not apparently room at the bottom for a speaker because they're just fitting whatever they can in the rest of the phone with a battery. So this phone only has microphones on the bottom, and then it has a mono firing speaker at the top.
Yep.
So if you have been using a smartphone that has the dual speaker setup, which I feel like is just so common these days, this is going to be a little bit of a culture shock for you unless you just use AirPods all the time, to which you're probably not going to care.
Yeah. And it's not a volume thing. It's not like these are super low compared to a normal stereo system, even on the 17 and 17 Pro.
Yeah.
But the quality itself, it doesn't feel as full of a sound. It doesn't have that rich, thick sound that the set of stereo speakers has compared to this just mono speaker at the top.
And that's going to happen, right? Because at the top, it is sharing a speaker and an earpiece.
Right.
Yeah. So like David said, volume is fine, but it's just kind of like, it's a little hollow, a little tinny, at like max volume and stuff like that. Camera control button is here too.
I wasn't expecting that one. Honestly, I could have cared less.
But it's a really good measuring stick because it shows you just how thin the phone is, where it's like just got enough room for the camera control and like all the other physical buttons. The iPhone Air, I was so excited. I mean, I still think it's a really, really cool phone.
I think here's what I'll say actually, before we get into pricing and colors and things like that. I think, you look back at previous years, and not even just with Apple, but other companies, and how every time we say how they're not innovating, they're not trying, they're doing the same thing but just slightly better. And then I see a lot of people with this phone criticize it and basically say, this is pointless, they shouldn't have done this. But I'm okay that they tried. I really am. I'm not saying this is a great phone. I'm not saying it's the best phone by any means, but it's the fact that they are doing something different. And it is different enough to consider, oh, maybe I should switch not only up, but maybe sideways to something that's in a different category.
Yeah, and I definitely don't think this is a pointless phone, right? Because it's just like, performance is really good. Display hits that sweet spot.
I think it is, I'm not into huge phones, but this one I would.
Yeah, display hits that sweet spot at 6.5 inches. It's fantastic quality, 120 hertz display. Like, it's got so many cool things going for it. The only thing with me is that if you're going to consider buying this phone and using it full time, just be aware of how many trade-offs you are accepting for the super cool form factor.
They're not even that many, but they're on the bigger side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest one, at least for me, is the camera.
This is a phone that absolutely prioritizes looks and design much more so than any other aspect of the smartphone experience.
I like Johnny Ive. That's what he used to do.
Right. It still gets a lot of stuff done well, but it's not really the best in any category.
Yeah.
Outside of thinness, if that counts. Thinness and weight.
Now, this phone does start at $999, so it is a in-between of the 17 and the 17 Pro with 256 as the first option, which...
Better than 128.
Better than 128.
Better than 128. And as far as colors go, it's like cloud white, there's a gold, there's a black, and then there's
it's like a light gold.
Yeah, it's a light gold.
Yeah.
And then there's sky blue. I think sky blue and black are probably the two coolest ones because we didn't get a black Pro iPhone this year. I know that upset a lot of people. So you can get a black iPhone Air if you would like.
I think the blue is the best way though. This is the way to go.
Blue is super, super dope. And in case you're wondering, I know we haven't really touched on it. If you're concerned about durability, don't be. Because
no, and I did touch on it a little bit in the beginning, saying how it is very durable. We're not going to put it to the test. But this phone...
There's nothing you can do to bend this phone, you yourself.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna need some help from outside sources to do
Just
something
go to
like
Jerry
that.
Riggs' video and check it out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's insane how durable this phone is.
Yeah, it is incredibly durable. It's incredibly light. It's incredibly thin. It is, I will say, I think the coolest iPhone to come out this year. That is bar none. Some people online were describing it as the most magical iPhone since the 10. I don't really know if it hits that point, but it is a very, very cool phone to use and hold. I can't blame people for jumping in on this phone because of just the cool factor alone.
But I also don't blame him for not. So if you considered everything that we talked about and this is for you, give it a shot. I don't think you're gonna regret it.
I think you'll like it.
Knowing the compromises that you're gonna have having this phone.
Yeah, if you're cool with everything we've mentioned, I think you're gonna really like this phone.
Absolutely. Now,
Because even with those, there's still something about picking up this phone.
oh, it's great.
Yeah.
It doesn't get old. Now, if you hit one of those points in the video that you're like, oh, I want to have that, or I can't be without that feature, that should be a give. That this phone is not for you.
Yeah.
But this is why we do these, just so we can talk about our experience in our testing with this phone, talk about our highlights and kind of what we wish this phone had, or maybe what it was missing. But you're the one that makes a decision. So please let us know what you think. Drop it in the comments. Maybe you already have the phone and you have some thoughts that we didn't cover. Let us know. Drop it in the comments and just share it with everyone so we can all have this experience of talking about this phone.
Precursor to the iPhone Fold?
We'll see what happens next year.
I think so. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks
Later.
for watching. Peace. I'm setting you up perfectly for the camera system. Also, I like that it has titanium. Hate that Apple made it shiny titanium because that thing is a fingerprint magnet. It's not matte.
I kind of like it though.
It's not matte.
I like it.
It's not good.
I like it.
It's not good, bro.